Hey everybody, Matt Frazier here from the No Shit Cast. The other night, I put a video out that said, where I posed the question of a concern that I was having that, with everything that's going on in the world and the way that people are treating each other and the stuff that's going on, my question was, how is any of this stuff making anything better? And, it was sort of a Hail Mary on my part. I didn't think anybody would respond to it, and I'm so grateful for everybody who did and has. A tremendous amount of response, a lot of really well thought out responses from people, and my hunch or my gut feeling that I wasn't alone in this kind of confusion and wonder about all of this stuff was not unwarranted. It turns out I'm not alone, and there are a lot of people that are starting to sort of ask the same questions and have the same type of concerns and these kinds of things about everything that's happening in the world and the way that people are starting to treat each other and this kind of stuff. So what I wanted to do here was, some of this stuff's really good. There were a lot of responses, a lot more than I expected. So again, thanks to everybody who responded, but I picked a couple of these out. I kind of wanted to just sort of go over them with you so you could get an idea of what people are saying. So I aligned a couple of them up. If I don't read yours, I apologize. Nothing personal. It doesn't mean in any way that I disagreed with it or whatever. But for the sake of brevity, I've pulled out a select few of these and kind of just wanted to read through them and discuss them in their context. But it was I would say overwhelming. It made me feel very good to realize that there are a lot of people that are sort of feeling the same way, feeling sort of this isolation and don't like it and are not happy about it and are seeing the same things. So I just wanted to go over a couple of these with you guys and read them off. If you have any input on these, it'd be great. I'd like to further this discussion. I think it helps. So for the sake of brevity, though, like I said, I only picked out a selection of them. And if this keeps working out, maybe we'll do this more often. I don't know yet. This was something that I sort of did on a whim. But the response, like I said, has been tremendous. And thank you, everybody that has responded. But so here are some of the responses that I got that I thought were very poignant. And a lot of the responses have very much the same sort of, I don't know what you would call it, spirit to them, for lack of a better word. And it all kind of falls down along the same lines. And I thought that these really spelled it out very well. This one comes from the Eclectic Adventurer. Says, I totally agree. Our individualism is lost, and now we are caught up into this caveman way of thinking. That's something we talk about a lot, is on the show too, is sort of this higher self, this consciousness type structure where you have sort of this higher self, this more logical, rational self, and then this de-evolution into sort of instinctual caveman level. I call it lizard brain a lot type of thinking. And it's something that I feel that people default to when there's no other alternative. High stress situations and fear, that kind of stuff definitely plays a part in it. But I honestly agree with you. I think that a lot of this is a de-evolution into sort of this caveman level of thinking. And it's not good. It doesn't leave space for things like reason and rational discourse. It turns into let me hit you with a club before you hit me with a club kind of thing, and it's not good. The Eclectic Adventurer goes on to say, instead of loving and helping one another, we are focusing on divide and conquer. The funny thing is, people are letting the puppeteers use us any way they see fit. I agree with you, brother, the mass of the hopeless. We need to stand and unite strong for good, not the shit that's been going on. Peace, my friend. Well, Eclectic Adventurer, peace right back at you. Namaste. Very well put, and I agree. I mean, it was very succinct, But it does really, I felt that really kind of hits the nail on the head that, there is an explanation for the reaction, I guess, in a lot of ways. And that comes from the default position of, because there's no experience with this kind of stuff, that the default position, I think, would be to fall back into those caveman, lizard brain kind of tribalist sort of places in our minds. And it's not good. We definitely need to stand in the gap there, and make sure that people realize that there's alternatives to this kind of stuff. The stuff being the violence and that sort of thing. Julian wrote, I found it quite interesting that politics eventually got brought up on this channel. Thank you very much. And your intent aside, I think you did a really great job of walking on eggshells here. It's an effort, Julian, for sure. It's an effort. I don't believe that there's a political answer per se. I don't believe in a conservative answer or solution or a liberal solution. I believe in the correct solution. I don't think politics should necessarily have much to do with that, all things considered. It should just be what is the best solution to the problem. And yeah, devolving into these sort of tribal stances of my group knows what's best is dangerous, because it closes the door on the possibility that there are other solutions that maybe we're not considering. It says, I suppose that neither you nor I like to make public political statements. Amen. I hate making public political statements. But in the interest of continuing this thought-provoking discourse and also simultaneously exercising my politically correct language, I'm sure there's a little tongue-in-cheek there, I thought I would reciprocate a few of my opinions. As a collective society, there are a lot of things that can divide us. Consider any national problem. Examples: COVID policies, police use of force, protests and riots, but could be anything else. And this is what I liked about this, is because this has got bullet points. This is number one. Do people agree that there even is a problem? And that's a tremendous question. Do they agree on what the symptoms are? Do they agree on what the root cause is? Do they agree that a solution is even necessary? Do they agree on how to solve the problem? And do they like how fast the problem is being solved? And lastly, number 7, do they like what the result is? It says on every step you lose more and more people. And I think what the poster is saying here is that there's sort of layers to frustration of how things get handled in our society, both politically and non-politically. And, people have different tolerance levels for what's acceptable and what's not. Says, however, unifying leadership can bring some of the lost people back on board. So then consider any public official. Are they bringing people together? That's a really good question, right? I mean, I think that there is a profit to, not profit as in the sense that, there's a person speaking for the voice of God or whatever, but a profit in monetary gain and or political gain, where dividing people makes that kind of possible. Because if you can convince a large enough group of people that the other guy's out to get you, fear's a hell of a motivator. So it drives contributions to political campaigns and these kinds of things. And so I think that's where a lot of that comes from. And so it's tough, I think, in society today to convince people that, unification and this kind of stuff is important, simply because if we're measuring success in terms of things like monetary profit and so on, there's not a lot to be gained by getting everybody on the same page and agreeing. And that's just a personal opinion of mine. And it's kind of one of the big reasons why I do avoid politics and discussing political parties and this kind of thing so much, because I don't really want to give any kind of space for that stuff to breathe. Especially in anything that I'm creating or trying to contribute to the world. It says, are they spreading awareness and information? Are they contributing to the solution, or are they contributing to the problem? And Yeah, that's a damn good question. And the truth being, I mean, I guess the old adage is that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, right? So, poster goes on to say, you said, me, the question is this: how is any of it, supposed to make things better? People are upset right now. They are demonstrating, also in ways beyond just protesting and rioting, because they got lost somewhere between steps 1 and 7 from up here above. They are upset because they feel their problems, 1, aren't being recognized, 2, aren't being understood, 3, aren't being assessed correctly, 4, aren't being addressed, 5, aren't being solved to their liking, 6, aren't being solved quickly enough, and 7, haven't been solved at all. If I felt that way, I'd probably also express my displeasure in increasingly drastic ways until I felt like I was making an impact and that progress was being made. So to answer your original question simply, more and more people are asking how come things aren't getting better. And boy, yeah, that's it. I mean, that if you were kind of, and I appreciate that because that sort of distills it down into, I was searching when I made that post, and it really does distill that down into that big question. It's like, why aren't things getting any better? And when you think about how much people contribute to society out of their own pocket, whether that's in the form of taxation or surrender of perceived liberties, whatever that is, and to not see a positive result from all of that starts to kind of feel like you've been ripped off somehow, or that you're at least being unjustly deprived of things like your personal treasure and time and energy and all of this. So it feels like you're getting ripped off, and nobody likes getting ripped off, right? But we are also impatiently awaiting a leader who can say credibly, quote, I see your problem, I understand it, I've researched it, we need to fix it, let's do it together, and let's do it now. And most importantly, let's do it well. Before this gets misinterpreted, I'm not implying that we don't have any leaders or leader figures. No, what I am citing is a lack of unified and unifying leadership. And this is the truth. I mean, our system is built on divisiveness. It's built on separating people and finding reasons for people to not come together. And that's one of the things that sort of boggles me about a lot of this stuff is when you really boil it down, the vast majority, especially here in the West, or let's take, because I live here in the United States and people all over the world watch this, but, we as a society pretty much agree on the absolute vast majority, well into the 90% vast majority of things. When it comes to things like the laws and stuff that allow us to function together collectively in a society and prosper. And so to think that we can be divided over such a small percentage of what actually separates us or is different about the things that we our opinions or the things that we believe or the truths that we hold is that's the part where I was saying it's really mind-boggling to me. I don't understand it because it's like looking for nothing but the problem. It's not recognizing the overwhelming amount of things that unify us and unite us and bring us together under common cause. So yeah, I mean, I think that that's exactly right, but I don't know. And what I'm worried about here, Julian, is that that's not the way the system sort of works. It's not the way that it's certainly not the way that it responds, and that's a direct reflection I kind of feel on us as the stewards of our country and our society. Is that what we're doing is we're playing into that divisiveness and I'm using the collective we here in the sense that if someone were to run on a strictly unifying sort of message for some sort of political office or leadership, I don't think that society would respond to it very well. And we kind of see it. I mean, I see it here on the show a lot too in in the views and the downloads of the podcast and stuff like that is that, and the way that these shows and in the clickbaity world of internet content and all of this sort of works. The reason that stuff works is because it works, right? I mean, sensationalized, you won't believe what so-and-so is wearing now, this kind of stuff, this inflammatory sort of, or you won't believe what this politician is saying about that politician. These headlines are sort of designed to prey on that fear side of our personal selves, and they wouldn't do it if it didn't work. And work in the sense that it drives it drives interest. And I think that's kind of incumbent upon us, and maybe it's an education thing, a self-education thing, I don't know. But it's a sort of incumbent upon us to not respond to that kind of stuff, to reject that, and then respond positively maybe to the unifying messages and the sort of unifying energy of of particular leaders and whatever. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be what society responds to, and it really gives me pause, because I don't know how you fix that other than to, I guess, be the example. But again, I think that's where a lot of that actually comes from. If it didn't work, they wouldn't do it. I don't know. That's my opinion. Feel free to kind of give me your opinion again if you think I'm wrong on that. But last comment I'd like to go over here with you is from my buddy Shifu Ramon Cariaga, who's been on the show a bunch of times. One of the things I love about Shifu is that he's very much a student of philosophy. He's kind of a big world type thinker and looks at things in a, I guess to overuse a word here, more of a holistic sense. Has a lot to do, I think, with his position as a Chinese medicine practitioner, and his energy and existence is very much about healing and this kind of thing. But Shifu says it isn't supposed to make us better, meaning what's happening. I think his implication here, Shifu will correct me if I'm wrong, of course, is that this is being done on purpose. And I think that goes kind of back to what I was saying about, there is no profit per se in a unifying message. I told you we were already in World War III. The Civil War 2.0 is now on, and the 3 Cold Wars, which will culminate in the real deal. So I think the 3 Cold Wars, Shifu, I'm assuming here, is talking about would be the relationships between the major superpowers in the world, some of the major superpowers in the world being China, Russia, and the United States, turning into fully blown Cold Wars. And I think his fear or his prediction here is that those are going to ultimately culminate into an actual hot war or shooting war. He says, if you saw what just happened to me last night, which I will cover on Leak, L-E-A-K, which I think is a show he's going to be on, I'm not familiar. He says you'd be surprised and shocked on a whole new level. I'm sure you already know about the 6% CDC debacle, and I think I understand what you're talking about, Shifu. The CDC had put out some announcement, and I think it was something to the effect of only 6% of the people that die from the COVID virus are dying directly from the COVID virus, and then the other 94% are dying from pre-existing type conditions due to complications from the COVID, novel COVID virus. And that has been interpreted now by some as to mean that only that the COVID virus is nowhere near as deadly because it's only 6%, and it's created a tremendous amount of distrust among certain groups in the population that this is all just a hoax and it's all being made up and we're being lied to, and now here's the smoking gun kind of thing. If I'm wrong, Shifu, be sure to chime in here and let me know. But yeah, I mean, it's if that's what you're talking about, yeah, it's crazy because it's putting out information in such a way that, I guess in layman terms, it could be easily misconstrued. And there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on too, where we've developed a sort of inherent distrust for the certain institutions and things that are supposed to be there to give us credible information and so forth. And I'm not sure they're not doing it anymore. I think it's being spun, for lack of a better word, by people who maybe don't have necessarily altruistic sort of intentions here, or they're at the very least they're trying to push a very specific narrative and sell their narrative. He goes on to say, none of it is an accident, nothing. I'm going to talk about implications, possibilities, and where I think this is going on Rex's show. I think that's Leak, that's Rex's show. But I really admire that you're asking the right questions and stepping back. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I wasn't sure how this was going to land, so it really made me feel good that a lot of people took the question seriously, because I was certainly sincere when I asked the question originally. It's good, I guess, in the sense that, and then, like I said, there were tons of responses. None of them, by any stretch of the imagination, could I say were in any way, shape, or form negative or derogatory. And it does seem like that there's a lot of people that are sort of feeling the same unease, general unease. It's kind of like a weird cognitive dissonance in that you expect, and it makes sense for things to be one way, but to see them so dramatically not that way or the opposite, it kind of leaves you, it leaves me feeling very, I guess hopeless, or just wondering. It's like, I don't think this is a good thing, folks. And you get overwhelmed with just the sensational headlines and forget the fact that so many of us aren't responding this way. So many of us are having these same concerns and these same sort of questions and stuff about how this is all going, and what is actually going to help put this stuff back together and unify us in a way that, where you feel safe as you can out in society. Scary ass stuff for sure. But like I said, I wanted to put this together to say thanks to everybody. Thank you so much for responding. I really appreciate it. Tomorrow night on the show, we're going to have Ian Stair come back on for part 2. My battery died in the last show, but Ian's super interesting guy. The first part of the show, we covered a tremendous amount about music, the business of entertainment, and how that's been impacted here recently. A lot about the technical side of his craft, which is synthesizer music and that kind of stuff. And this time, we really wanted to get to this with him. He was talking about more philosophical stuff, the concepts of consciousness and these sorts of things, manifesting things in your life personally. I know he's a big believer in that, and we're going to go hopefully take a really good solid deep dive in that. So it should be pretty meaty and interesting conversation all around. But again, thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to respond, these written responses. Some of them were so long, Jeff Cody, that there was no way I could put the whole thing in and keep it under 30 minutes, which is my goal here. And but I love you all for responding. And Reed Dillashaw responded. I mean, we had a lot of tremendous responses. If you guys want to check some of those out and get some hope, because that's what it was for me, some hope back in humanity and hope back into the world at large, go check those out. Instagram, on our Instagram page, the No Shit Cast official Facebook group on Facebook, and then again on YouTube. Check out the comment sections there. There was some really, really good stuff, really unifying, peace, love, and happiness kind of stuff. And again, guys, I really super appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we will catch you all later. Thanks. See ya.